It's Seahawks week. We'll find out from the Winkstradamus what the final result will be. He is 10-0, our weekly guest on this Wednesday episode. 49ers added an offensive lineman. Could they add a linebacker to the mix? We got some great stats as well coming up for week 12. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always. Appreciate all the everydayers out there. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's what you do. We're with you every day. And you can find us, as always, on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And being that this is a Wednesday means we're getting close to Thanksgiving. It also means it's a Winky Wednesday. Our weekly guest, Mr. Nicholas Winkler at Bay Area Wink. You can find him on Twitter. And Wink, congratulations on your 10th straight preseason predictions. 10-0 now with the San Francisco 49ers. So just first off, real quick, can you put the listeners at ease who trust you now and trust those predictions to the point where they're getting mad at you, they're happy with you, depending on the week? Are the 49ers going to beat the Seahawks on Thursday?
Well, I mean, I feel a little bit taken for granted, a little bit, when it comes to that, because when they're mad at me, everybody's out here yelling. I got like one more this week. It was up to 3 people saying, congratulations, Wink. Thank you for putting this out in the universe and giving us another win. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I'll tell you that much each and every week. I don't like watching the losses, obviously, but it's just kind of funny where it's like, wow, again, 10-0. All right, cool. Guys, Seahawks week, Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. I talked about it from the get-go. Go back and listen. It's payback. We're at Seattle, Thanksgiving night. We're going to eat some turkey on their 50-yard line, just like they did to us back at Levi's Stadium. What was it, 9 or 10 years ago? Here it comes. Don't worry. Everybody relax, sit back, and enjoy beating the Seahawks on Thursday night.
Croc, to you, does it matter if Geno Smith or Drew Lock is playing quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks? Geno Smith got hurt against the Rams on Sunday. It's a short week, short turnaround. Pete Carroll being a little coy, said he doesn't quite know, and there's not a lot of practicing that happens on these short weeks. Geno Smith did come back into the game and led a drive, got him down to 55-yard field goal that they missed. So the Seahawks lost to the Rams and now gave the 49ers some breathing room. Even if the 49ers lose, they'll still have the tiebreaker. It'll depend in a couple. The West will play itself out because they're playing the Seahawks twice in 3 weeks. But, Croc, the question is, does it matter to you if Geno Smith or Drew Lock is playing quarterback for the Seahawks Thursday?
I think it matters more to the Seattle Seahawks than it does the 49ers. I think 49ers they should be favored in this game. And that's weird, right? Like, I mean, for how long did you go up to Seattle and just kind of expect an L? Whether it was you going to Seattle or Seattle come to the 49ers. Right now, I feel like no matter who's at quarterback, 49ers should be favored. Now, if you're talking about from Seattle's standpoint, they definitely want Geno Smith out there. He's a guy who plays much better at home than he has on the road. And he's definitely going to give you a better chance than whatever you'll get from Drew Lock. So Seattle definitely want Geno. 49ers, I really don't think it matters.
Doing our picks for this week on the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. By the way, subscribe right here daily on the Locked On Podcast Network. I basically put it this way. If Drew Lock plays, 49ers by 1 million. If Geno Smith plays, it's like 49ers by a few. 6.5, though, on the road at Seattle, short week, is a lot of points. And so the bettors really believe in the San Francisco 49ers in this one. And it's looking like, if I had to guess, it's going to be Geno Smith that's out there playing. It does give the Seahawks a better chance because he's a better quarterback. If Wink's preseason predictions are correct, if my prediction is correct, if Croc's prediction is correct, I think 49ers are going to come out of this with a couple game lead in the West on Thanksgiving over the Seattle Seahawks. But you can never take the Seahawks lightly. It's Thursday. It's a short week that can make things weird. It's at Seattle. It's always a tough place to play. But, man, this 49ers team, when they're playing well, Nobody can beat them. Like they're a scary football team. One thing, guys, that the 49ers have to do, we're getting in pregame mode here, talking about this game a little bit here, earlier than I planned, but that's okay. Let's talk 49ers Seahawks. This is the best time of the year. Ji'ayir Brown in for Talanoa Hufanga. Can't get beat on that seam, right? You can't let the Seahawks score early on you. The 49ers are the best front runners in the NFL. Get that early lead. Like that is key number one. So I just want to make sure that, number 27, Ji'ayir Brown, I'm excited to see how he plays in his first action. He's going to start for Talanoa Hufanga, who's officially out with a torn ACL. Wink, the rookie's got to stay over the top.
I got a question.
Big plays happen.
I have a question real quick. Do you think people would take offense to you saying that the 49ers are the best front runners in the NFL?
Oh, probably. They'll take offense. People take offense to everything. So somebody out there is not going to like that. The 49ers are amazing front runners. I mean, they're bullies, and when they can run it and throw it, and when they have a lead and they can pin their ears back and go get your quarterback, that's doomsday for NFL teams. It has been for a long time. I don't think that should shock anybody.
Yeah, when you got a team like the 49ers too, and even when their offense isn't working that well, you got Mitch Wishnowsky who can pin them deep, right? So look at me just throwing in an early wish watch for you guys. Actually, before we get back to Brown, he actually had probably his worst game of the season against the Buccaneers. He had 3 punts, none of them inside the 20. I mean, a couple went in the 20, but they were able to bring it out. And there was that 51-yard punt return against him where he missed a tackle.
Yeah.
Not a great showing from Wish. So I'm going to sit here. I'm going to, talk about how he's one of the greatest punters in the league. I'm also going to call him out when he has a bad game. And that was not a great game on the Wish watch. He'll be back. I'm not worried about it.
Not his best game. He's supposed to come down with that tackle. He's got some athleticism. He's a big guy. He's played that Aussie rules football, right? That's
he got a little too excited. You watched him. He got a little happy feet. He's like, then he kind of fell down.
It's been a while since we've seen him plant somebody too.
Yeah. It's been a couple of years. He was on kickoffs when he used to do it. When Gold was around and he wasn't doing those kickoffs.
A lot more opportunities on the kickoff coverage.
Yeah, back to Ji'ayir Brown. Like I this is it, right? This is why you spent a draft pick on this kid. You brought him in, and he made a huge play to end the game against the Buccaneers. That was fantastic to see. But you mentioned it. He got beat on his first play in the game. That was not great to see there on the defense. I think that Wilks is going to scheme it up, right? Where he's not out there on an island by himself, where he's going to have some protection. He's going to have a little help. They're going to do whatever's best because they know he's a rookie. He doesn't have a whole lot of playing time. Hufanga wasn't off the field that much, right? So Brown didn't get to see that much action. So this is kind of be like trial by fire, right? You throw him in there and you hope that he doesn't blow it for the team. But I don't think Wilks will let him. I think that he'll be smart and he'll set him up in a good position for success.
I've got a stat on the 49ers defense and giving up those big plays that I think is important, and especially this week, short week, going against the Seahawks with a new starting safety on that defense. Some stats about Brock Purdy, some stats about Deommodore Lenoir. Those guys are really handling their business this year for the 49ers, so some really good numbers there to get into. And the 49ers have added Ben Bartch, a brand new offensive lineman, to the mix as well. A lot more to come on this Winky Wednesday holiday edition of Locked On 49ers next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Gametime and the Gametime app. You shouldn't have any ill feelings when you're buying tickets. It should be an exciting time when you're getting ready to go to your next big event, NFL football game, 49ers, maybe a baseball game, NBA basketball, whatever sports, music, comedy, theater events are near you that you're trying to go to. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy those tickets with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You get to see your seat and the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front. You don't get hit with those hidden fees, which is the worst part about buying tickets these days. And you can buy those tickets in seconds on the app. The tickets are on the app. You don't have to go fishing through emails to find those tickets when you do arrive at your event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Since we were talking about the defense guys and big plays, this is a really interesting one. And the 49ers defense now is at the top of the league again after the last couple of weeks in points allowed. But here's an interesting one. The 49ers defense lead the NFL right now in explosive plays allowed through the first 11 weeks of the season. 43 explosive plays when you count run and pass plays. So number one in the NFL are the San Francisco 49ers, allowing only 43 explosive plays throughout the first 11 weeks of the season. They are number one in allowing explosive pass plays, and they're top 5 in allowing explosive run plays. So they're really good in both. Number one in pass, number one in total, top 5 in allowing explosive run plays as well. And it's funny because Talanoa Hufanga last year, guys, was an all-pro, but just from the standpoint of some of the coverage busts that we saw last year, we haven't seen any of those hardly at all this year. There's been some, weirdness with tackling, and Wilkes made Wilkes move from the booth to the sideline, but explosive pass plays was definitely not the thing that's been hurting this team. And so changing a safety could be a big impact in that category where the 49ers have been the best in the NFL. Croc, does that change the dynamic for you? Like how does because part of playing safety, it's a neck up position, right? It's a smart guy position. So, we talk about speed or whatever, and Hufanga's not the fastest guy. Gibson's not the fastest guy. Ji'ayir Brown's not the fastest guy, but you got to have your feet in the right place and your head in the right place, or it doesn't matter how fast you are in the NFL.
I actually want to ask, is this a pick your poison type thing? Hey, we might play a little bit softer and keep everything in front of us. And I know a lot of fans, I get hit with this question a lot. Like, oh, man, why are they playing so soft? Why are they playing like that? They're playing off the complete passes in front of the 49ers receivers. We've seen quarterbacks complete 18 straight passes. I think Baker Mayfield at one point had 8 straight completions against the 49ers. So is this like one of those things where it's like, yeah, they might give up that underneath stuff and make you have to march down the field and maybe be a little bit more perfect, which we've seen 2 quarterbacks kind of be a little bit more perfect. And that's why you see the lack of explosive plays against the guys on the back end. And would you sacrifice maybe having guys be more aggressive, but potentially give up more explosive plays? Because those are the kind of, I'm getting a lot of questions about that on social media, asking what's up with the coverage and why they're playing so soft.
I think it's a smart play to stay back, be soft, don't give up the big plays, because you got a defense that hits hard and goes and gets the quarterback and creates turnovers and things like that. And the more plays you have, the more opportunities you give your defense. You give your Fred Warner, your Dre Greenlaws, your Bosa's, your Youngs to go and make a turnover or make a big play. And instead of, we saw it early on with the Bengals, right? When Burrow wasn't healthy, they were having to have these 12, 13, 14, 15 play drives because he didn't have time. So everything was short. Well, you make 1 or 2 mistakes and all of a sudden that drive stalls and it's over, or you have a pick. And so you're not giving up the big play. You're not giving up the touchdowns, and you're allowing that other team to either make a mistake or for your defense to really step up and make a big play. I actually love this kind of defense. I don't mind the ding and dunks. I'm like, whatever, take your little 3, 4, 5 yard passes over and over. You're not going to beat us that way.
Yeah, it's bend, don't break. When it would really start to break for them was when they weren't tackling well. So if you're tackling well, stay over the top, come downhill, tackle, get them in third downs, and go rush the passer and get there with 4. And the 49ers have a better pass rush now than they did during their 3-game losing streak. And probably a smart way to play it. And by the way, speaking of running game, the Seattle Seahawks might be without Kenneth Walker as well at running back, who was banged up last week. I think he's officially listed as questionable upcoming in week 12.
Croc, I got a question for you. We're talking about the secondary and Hufanga and this and that. To me, forgive me if you've talked about this over the last couple of weeks or the last couple of days, but it feels to me like since Lenoir's gone inside and Ambry Thomas has come in, that the secondary looks like it's playing so much better with those 3 guys kind of as your main cornerbacks. Am I just looking at that with fan eyes, or is that actually, from somebody who understands the secondary position really well, is that more accurate? Are they playing better?
I think the defensive line is playing better.
And you think that's
they're getting those sacks in there? Yeah, they're getting those kind of big plays, and they're affecting the quarterbacks even more. And I think just that 1 or 2 or 3 plays where they're affecting it more so than they were, and especially in the Bengals and Vikings game, I think that is giving a little bit more of the illusion that the back end guys are playing better. Now, it does help to not have Isaiah Oliver in there who had given up like 20 catches on 20 targets during that span. Like that's not good. So they are playing better to a certain extent, but I do think a lot of it can be attributed to a better pass rush, getting home, getting sacks, getting some of those takeaways.
Yeah, with those two Ji'ayir Brown plays, one with the attempted touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans. The pass rush got home, and it was actually Isaiah Oliver on the blitz that got to him through a duck, and Brown was able to recover and knock that ball away and not interfere with Mike Evans. And then on the interception, the ball hit, I don't know if it was Greenlaw or Fred Warner, but hit one of those dudes in the helmet and bounced up in the air. And opportunistic, as he has shown he's been throughout his college career as well, was Ji'ayir Brown and came down with the interception, though. So pass rush is so important in those things. But how about this stat with the 49ers defense and Deommodore Lenoir specifically? Deommodore Lenoir, according to Pro Football Focus, 398 coverage snaps this season without allowing a touchdown, is number one in the NFL. So there you go. Talking about big plays. Deommodore Lenoir, 0 touchdowns allowed in 300 and almost 400 coverage snaps this season, whether he's on the outside or in the slot.
And he's been targeted. He's been targeted in the end zone. He's been targeted all over the field. There have been several teams take deep shots on him. And for the most part, I think he's held up and played well. There's been the pass interference here and there, and it hasn't been perfect. I could think of a time he gave up a sideline catch down the left side of the sideline. But for the most part, I think he's been, a solid starter for sure.
I think if you're going to be a good cornerback or, a coverage guy, you're going to get pass interference calls here and there. And you kind of want that. You want a physical corner, right? You want somebody who's going to be on a guy and not let him think, oh, you can just go out and make any catch. Like, I'm going to smack you if you come near me. So it's like with Ward. We've seen quite a bit of pass interference calls on Ward so far this season, but I don't think he's playing bad this year. I think, again, we're talking about the pass rush the last few weeks. Like, I think Ward might have had one of his best games against Tampa Bay. I thought he looked fantastic. He made some really big plays for the 49ers. So you kind of live with the pass interference calls, right? Because it's such a subjective call out there by the refs that you can't get too overheated when you see those get thrown.
And Ambry Thomas does deserve some praise too, because it was a worry for me that when offenses saw number 20 out there, it was going to mean that there was a target on his back. And they've tried him a few times. He's done really well. I don't think you even really put that Mike Evans touchdown on him, because he's playing the outside leverage, because Mike Evans is 6'5", and you can go red zone fade, and that you got to expect that and be ready for it. He knew that he had help inside with Gibson. Gibson jumped what the slant was going to be. Baker Mayfield made a good play by not throwing that. I think Gibson was trying to house it. I mean, I think he saw that in his eyes. He's like, I'm going to take this all the way back. He's like, oh, no. Gave a little pump fake and then fired it in the second window. So it was a nice play by them. Sometimes the other team makes good plays, and they tried Ambry Thomas more times. And Mike Evans only caught 5 of his 12 targets. So I thought the 49ers did a great job. And so, yeah, props to Demo. Outside, inside has been playing well. Travarius Ward's so competitive out there. And Ambry Thomas has done a really good job and has not been a liability, which is, a huge compliment to what, some fans probably expect from Ambry Thomas. So that's been huge for the 49ers. They've absolutely played well. How about this? Just one more, because, Wink, you haven't been, we've been gushing about Brock Purdy, giving him a lot of praise. He had his perfect passer rating this week, which hasn't happened since Joe Montana, with a quarterback for the 49ers who attempted at least 20 passes since 1989. So that's what Brock Purdy's doing right now. And so just some more stats. And our guy, John Chapman, 49ers Rush. By the way, I think there's a 49ers Rush party that he does. So find John Chapman at JL_Chapman on Twitter, and you can have that Seattle party for this game. He likes to go on the road and throw those things. And I still haven't shared shots with John Chapman yet at any of those parties. I was supposed to go week 1 to Pittsburgh. Didn't happen. That's got to happen soon. But John curated all the stats that Brock Purdy is number 1 in. And we might not have time before the end of this 30-minute episode to get through all of these. Right now, through 11 weeks, Brock Purdy is number 1 in quarterback rating, 115.1. He is number 1 in QBR, 77.1. He is number 1 in the NFL in completion percentage, 70.2%. He is number 1 in touchdown percentage, 6.5%. He is number 1 in passing success rate, 56.3%. He is number 1 in yards per attempt at 9.7. If you think he's of the dink and dunk variety, as we saw with the bomb he hit on Brandon Ayuk last week, or George Kittle the week before. He's hitting deep plays. He's hitting intermediate plays. He's hitting short plays. Number 1 in net yards per attempt, 8.6. Number 1 in yards per completion, 13.8. Number 1 in adjusted net yards per passing attempt, 9.05. Number 1 in passer rating under pressure. We're not done yet here, guys. Number 1 in yards per attempt under pressure. So he's good under pressure as well. He's got guts. He'll hang in there. And then number 5 in big time throw rate, number 6 in fewest interceptions thrown of players with 5 or more starts so far this year, and on and on. So I'm not even going to start getting to the ones where he's not even number 1 anymore. That's those are some of the numbers that that Brock Purdy is putting up so far this year for the 49ers. So if you want to start talking about Brock Purdy, I think you got to start talking about MVP of the stinking NFL, and just now surpassing Mitch Wishnowsky because of that last week performance for the 49ers and for the NFL.
We talked a little bit about just kind of the MVP talks during the 5-game win streak, right, to start the season. And then you have that kind of low moment. And I don't think it changed anything for you and I, Peacock. We talked a lot about how we felt like he was playing well outside of a couple of late turnovers, right? So 90% of the game looked like he's always looked. The other 10%, that was bad. And, okay, I don't think that's always going to be him. Well, you look over the last 2 weeks, and he's been as good as you could be, as good as any quarterback could be, and as good as any coach would hope a quarterback would be, and definitely has not only inserted himself into the MVP conversation, but I feel like kind of planting his flag and like I'm not going anywhere. It's kind of who I am, and probably deserves a little bit more respect around the league than how he's been getting, which very understandable. Like I get it. Sure. It's been weird. I've had to talk self and talk through it as almost like a Brock Purdy therapy session on these shows, trying to figure out what is he, what isn't he. But the more he plays, I think it becomes more evident that he's just a baller.
Yeah, and you know what really frustrates me is when you look at these pundits and the talking heads and this and that, and they're like, "Oh, Purdy's only good because he's got all these weapons." And you start listening, but then look around the NFL. Josh Allen's great. Look at the weapons he has. Look at what Jalen Hurts has. Look at and yeah, Mahomes is down this year, right? Because he doesn't quite have the weapons. He doesn't have guys that make plays. But I think any great quarterback, I think like the one outlier in this conversation would be Lamar Jackson, because he's had like Mark Andrews, and that's kind of it. But he's kind of a different breed when it comes to the NFL. Like, he's just phenomenal when it comes to the run play option, or past the RPOs. He has recreated the NFL when it comes to that sort of thing. But yes, Brock Purdy has a lot of weapons, but all the great quarterbacks have a lot of great weapons. That's kind of what makes them great. And if you can't, and a lot of guys have good weapons and can't figure it out, right? Guys just can't get it done. Jimmy Garoppolo looked pretty good as a 49er, but he never put up numbers like this. He had great weapons all around him, but they were never Brock Purdy numbers. And I get it. Still not a huge sample size. But as he's now played, a full season worth of games, look at the numbers. I mean, the guy gets it done. He knows where to go. He's got the confidence, and he's got the guts to stay in there. You mentioned that, like with the pass rate and all that, like under pressure. He just never looks flat back there. It doesn't matter. He'll take a huge hit. Next play, he'll be back in there doing the exact same thing, staring down a 300-pound guy running straight at him. Like, Brock Purdy has been so impressive since he's taken over as a starter for the 49ers that you can't praise him enough, in my opinion.
As long as he has his elbow intact and he's not concussed, he's been playing as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. 49ers, reinforcements? Could they even bring more reinforcements in before week 12 next? Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by PrizePicks, the most fun you will have playing daily fantasy sports this season. And while you're having all that fun playing daily fantasy sports, how about winning 25 times your money this football season as well? It's simple. All you do is you select 2 or more players at PrizePicks. You pick more or less on their PrizePicks projected stats, and you place that entry, and you can turn $10 into $250. And now that basketball season is here, a very special league at PrizePicks where you can do combo projections across football and basketball. For example, Steph Curry plus George Kittle, 10.5 combo, 3-pointers made plus receptions during a given game. So PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy, could not be simpler, and make yourself a little money as well. And all you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/lockedonnfl or download the app and use code LOCKEDONNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/lockedonnfl, promo code all lowercase, LOCKEDONNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right. So the 49ers have made an addition. Ben Bartch. He is an offensive lineman, a 4th-round selection in 2020, I believe, by the Jacksonville Jaguars, has ended up on the Jacksonville Jaguars practice squad, and now the San Francisco 49ers are signing Ben Bartch off of the Jacksonville Jaguars practice squad, which means he goes to the 49ers 53-man roster. So is there the immediate thing here, and we don't have a lot of injury reports, and we haven't had full practices yet as of this Wednesday recording on a short week. They don't really practice much. NFL teams don't on these short weeks when they have Thursday night games. Is there another injury that we don't know about on the interior of the offensive line, or potentially a shakeup there, that the 49ers are adding a player that they're not signing to the practice squad, they're adding them straight to the active 53-man roster? Ben Bartch, guard, 6'6", 309 pounds. And I don't know a lot about his scouting report other than that, guys. Croc, Wink, you guys got the Ben Bartch scouting report?
I don't have the Ben Bartch scouting report, but I did see on David Lombardi's Twitter account, or X, whatever you want to call it, Spencer Burford has something going on with his knee. So if he isn't able to go, then you might have to insert him into the lineup. So
there you go. And there was already Kyle Shanahan hinting that John Feliciano was going to start entering the 49ers lineup anyway. And since Aaron Banks got hurt, he's at left guard. I have a feeling John Feliciano, when Aaron Banks is back, and I think it's supposed to be at least a 3-week injury. So maybe if he's back next week, Feliciano might move over to right guard as well. So interesting thing to keep tabs on there, with some moving around there on the 49ers offensive line. By the way, Ben Bartch. Here we go, Croc. I know you're trying to bulk right now, Croc. I don't know if you guys can tell. He's wearing the hoodie. He's wearing big clothes because he doesn't want anybody to see how muscled up he's getting. He's trying to eat like 6,000 calories a day or something like that.
3,000 clothes.
Okay. Ben Bartch went through this. In college, he was 245 pounds. He's trying to be an offensive lineman. So during one summer, he got all the way up to 275 pounds. And then eventually, I just mentioned his I don't know what he is currently, but at the combine, he was 309 pounds. He had to get up over 300 pounds was his goal at 6'6". This is what his smoothies that he was drinking every day consisted of. And there's a video, by the way, at BD Peacock. Go to my Twitter. I just retweeted the video of him at the combine blending up one of these smoothies and making it. He put not eggs, but scrambled, not like raw eggs, right? I've seen people do raw eggs, Rocky Balboa drinking eggs.
Sure.
Like cooked scrambled eggs in a smoothie, first of all. That's one of the ingredients. Grits, a full banana, 4 scrambled eggs, by the way. And there's a couple other ingredients. Topped it off with red Gatorade. Croc. Ooh. Have you tried this smoothie yet? It's a lot of calories. If you're trying to get up to that 300-pound mark, it might be the way to go. Disgusting. I can see why the 49ers didn't draft him and had to wait a few years after seeing that to bring him into the building. I hope he's not still drinking those smoothies. I think he got big enough at the NFL level. But first of all, disgusting. But hey, willing to do what it takes to be in the league, right? So props.
There you go.
I'm watching the video on your page right now, and
you can't see the video of Croc. The look on his face is priceless. He is not into this smoothie.
So back in 2011, spring heading into my senior year, I broke my jaw, and I had to blend up a bunch of stuff. But that was kind of like I couldn't open my mouth. My jaw was wired shut for 5 weeks, so I had to do that. And I blended up some wild stuff, try to figure out what I like. One thing I learned, milk, you can add that to a lot of different things. It just changes the consistency so you can drink it, but that's a whole nother story. This guy's kind of doing it by choice. Obviously, you're trying to add a lot of weight. I would have never thought to cook the eggs.
Yeah, first.
And cook whatever else he cooked and put banana in there with the Gatorade and that is a lot of different things going on.
Well, I'm
curious to know what it tastes like.
The banana makes it healthy.
But you got to be hydrated, I guess. So you got to put the Gatorade in there.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's nasty.
Before we go, guys, it's kind of a shocker move in the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts here, right before we started recording, have released or waived veteran linebacker. He was one of the best linebackers in the league for a while. It was like Fred Warner and and Darius Leonard, now going by Shaquille Leonard, the best, two young linebackers in the NFL. They waived him. He's going to be probably a free agent, according to according to Albert Breer, he's owed $6.11 million for the rest of the year. So essentially about $1 million per week. I don't know if a team is going to want to take on that money. And if he clears waivers, that means he'll just be straight up a free agent, might sign because the Colts are already paying him. Might sign because if nobody claims him, that nobody will pick up his salary. So the Colts will just end up paying him, and a team could sign him for the league minimum. He basically lost his starting job to EJ Speed in Indianapolis. And I don't know really the ins and outs and the details on what went on, but he was like, talking bad about the coaches and like not hiding it in locker room interviews and things. So I guess the situation went south enough, and his play, it wasn't up to par, and he wasn't playing on third downs, and he's been waived. So a wild one. And I know we're going to get asked a lot about it. So what do you guys think? Should the 49ers make another addition? Potentially, if he clears waivers, he would be a veteran minimum player, a guy who's at one time was one of the best linebackers in the NFL in Shaq Leonard.
I don't think that this is a direction the 49ers need to go in. You look at just the combination of Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, you're really good there. And then even when you look at the guys behind them, like when guys have had to fill in, like Oren Burks, like I think he's played very well. You got some young guys that you drafted that you want to develop and eventually get more reps to with D Winners, and you have Jalen Graham. I'm not saying that you just don't need this guy, but I do feel like the 49ers are in a position to where they don't need to make a move like this to bring in a guy who's really getting beat out in other places. Like you have your guys, you have your studs, you have your developmental guys, you have your special teams guy that can fill in. I think the 49ers are in a really good place at the linebacker position.
Well, I do agree with you, Croc. I think that at the same time, injuries always happen, right? And if you can find a guy that's going to come in and be willing to, kind of swallow his pride, which he wasn't able to do before. So that's asking a lot, right? But if he wants to come in and be a part of something bigger than him, and he is going to make your football team better, I think you at least got to sit down and have a chat with the guy.
Eagles. He's going to end up on the Eagles. That's my guess. Maybe you see the Raiders. They have some needs. He's probably going to want to go to a better team, though, than like the Raiders or the Rams or some teams. Maybe even Seattle.
He might have to choose, though, right? He might have to choose between a better team and a backup role, or a worse team and a starting role. So I guess it kind of depends on what he's looking for.
Yeah, true. It's going to be an interesting one.
Looking for that money. That's what he's going to be looking for.
Right. I don't think I think he's just going to sign a minimum deal for the rest of the year and then be a free agent. Probably. So
go somewhere where you can play and showcase yourself.
Yeah. So maybe winning's not going to be at the top. It's going to be about getting that next contract potentially. Interesting. All right. So Shaq Leonard, he's out there. Doubtful. Ben Bartch, he is a San Francisco 49er. We'll see what that shuffle looks like on the offensive line as we get close to Thursday. It's Seahawks week, and a big one for the San Francisco 49ers. Really big stretch for the San Francisco 49ers over the next few weeks. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Wink, my former radio colleague. I don't know if I gave you the proper introduction to start. He's the voice of the fan here. He's with me every Wednesday on Locked On 49ers, my former podcast host, my former radio colleague. He is a game show extraordinaire. Wink, always a pleasure chatting with you, sir. And thanks for hitting all these preseason predictions. So let's keep it going, 11-0.
There we go. Thanks for letting me hang out, guys.
Croc and I back tomorrow. And, of course, post-game after Thanksgiving, Seahawks 49ers football right here, Locked On 49ers.
See you.